So we're talking to Ross Lahive. Ross Lahive has got a lot of attention at the moment. I don't think you were expecting it, Ross.
No, it wasn't. It came out of the blue.
It did, but seeing the attention is on you, Ross, this is your opportunity to tell people a bit more.
I really appreciate that, Dave. Thank you so much. Like I said, it was really out of the blue. We've been doing this stuff for the last 3 years here in Ireland, and I knew right away that this is going to cause a reaction because within the first hour they had newspaper articles up, The Independent, I believe, and the Kerryman, and we knew that this was going to blow up, but I never expected it to blow up the way it did. I'm thinking maybe possibly 20 million plus views going into the library the way we did.
Yeah.
It's mainly positive. I was being conservative. I was speaking to a few people and I said 95% positive, but they said no, it's more like 99% on our side.
Well, it's understandable. It's fascinating to imagine what people saw in what you did. What inspired people so much to pay attention to you? What are the papers saying about you, Ross?
Well, completely the opposite to what actually happened.
Yeah.
They say that, look, we did have to go in the way we went in because we wouldn't have got in otherwise.
Yeah.
But when we went in there was no shouting and roaring like the newspaper said.
Yeah.
And they're all on the same page with this, by the way. And nobody contacted me for a comment.
Yeah.
And they said we were terrorising children.
Yeah.
But if you look back over the video, Dave, there's no children crying.
Yeah.
Who were the ones acting out of hand here were the LGBT plus crowd. I believe that they were preparing for the worst but hoping for the best.
Yeah.
They were maybe, if someone did come along, this is what we would do. They were very coordinated, very organised. They surrounded myself, Margot, Steve and Joe.
Yeah.
And they did it in a very coordinated manner.
Yeah.
They had their umbrellas up, blocking, so we couldn't really see what was going on. I did make one mistake. When you hear drag queen story time, you automatically think of men dressing up as sex workers, because that's what we see in America, that's what we see in England.
Yeah.
But it was actually drag king.
Yeah.
So it was women dressed as men. Okay. But I went in there and I couldn't see what was going on. It was just chaos off the bat. Okay,
let's bring you back to that day. I think that people saw in what you did a level of heroism, level of commitment, and a level of directness that they would love to have done themselves. And I think when you went in there, the reaction was, I wish I'd done that too.
Yeah.
So, what is it about that made you feel uneasy about this whole drag queen story?
We see what's going on in America right now and in England. You see how far down the road they're after coming with the drag queen or drag king story time. They're twerking, they're flashing their junk. A lot of these drag queens are convicted pedophiles. We see it over and over again. The level of sexual explicit content they're reading them is just exponential. It's getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day. They have a young girl, 6 or 7, going around dancing for tips.
Yeah.
This is where they're going with this. So it's not innocent and family friendly as they try to make it out to be.
Yeah.
And I always felt if this ever comes to Ireland, because we don't have a culture of drag queen story time in Ireland, that we're not going to let it. We're going to not let it go ahead. We're going to put a stop to it, and that's what we did.
I get it. I mean, so often we in Ireland are the ones to use up everybody's bad ideas 10 years after they finish with them. So. We know what's coming down the line. We're seeing it. We are still the remnants of a conservative, community-based religious society.
Yeah, yeah.
So we know that we're progressing that way. You saw it coming, and you saw all the intersectionality coming your way. And there's a whole range of it, and we'll get into it in this interview. The critical race theory, the queer theory, and all the other stuff that's coming down the line. But I think that this is really about the queer theory, isn't it? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's quite demonic and satanic, really, when you think about it. Why is it so important for them to bring in these extreme ideologies to children? What do they need to know about these things for? You know, why don't these drag queens go to old folks' homes? Why don't they go to prisons if they're so kind and compassionate? Why do they have to teach it to young innocent children? Why do they push their ideas and philosophies and ideologies on children? Why can't we push, like you just said there, we're a traditional conservative country. Why can't we promote these values? You know, and they're not. It's not the majority; it's the minority, and they're really forcing it down. It's coming through the curriculum now.
Yeah.
It's everywhere you look. Children's TV shows. I have a nephew. He's 6. The stuff that they're teaching him through Peppa the Pig. It's all the hate the patriarchy and what are your pronouns? They're trying to. You know, there's a show called Transformers. It's a cartoon.
Yeah.
And they're trying to say, oh, what's your I'm they them, what are you? They're just constant bombardment, and it is an agenda, and it's a very sinister one.
Yeah, in many ways you say, why are they doing it here? There's a lot of people in Ireland have been made to feel ashamed of being behind the times, of being uncool, of being those religious people who, you know, and so they want to, are almost busting to prove that they're the opposite of this. Yeah. This is almost as if, anyway, I won't go too into it, but I think that people have an urgency, some Irish people who are ashamed of our culture, our identity and our traditional religion, and that they really are trying so hard to prove they're not all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that too, and I think this agenda was started in the late 90s with the priests and abuse, and they're taking that our Catholic culture away. I was a practicing Catholic back in the day, Dave. Yeah. I went to mass every Sunday. I said my prayers at night. Yeah. But when it came out with the gay, you know, the priests and the molestation of the children, and everything, it turned me against the Catholic Church. And I think that was done by design. They just all of a sudden show a spotlight on this because they want to take something away from us that's it's a core anchor. And now we're like we don't know who we are anymore. We've lost our connection to our faith and everything. Personally, I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in God, but I don't believe in religion anymore. And they're taking away our traditional values bit by bit. You know, abortion. Geez, that was a big one for me. You know, that was a sad day for Ireland when they brought that in. They're just taking away from us, Dave. They're trying to take away from what makes us strong, so they can come in with these new philosophies and ideas and replace our old traditional conservative values and implement this queer ideology, this queer theory. That's what I see anyway. Yeah,
it's a transformation from an Irish identity, heritage, culture, and religious values, and a reinvention of ourselves as a secular, multicultural, globalist society. And there's been no real discussion about this.
No, there hasn't.
You know, you're saying, hold on, I don't consent, you know. And, you know, because our backs are against the wall on this, you know, we're taking it, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but I want to get your thoughts on this. This is my personal thoughts, my personal opinion, that there's not that much difference between us and the LGBT guys, in my opinion. I think there's quite a simple difference here. And it's that back in the old days, we believed in self-control, you know, and that self-control was a virtue. If you had a abnormality or something which wasn't polite or something which was going to be disruptive, that you control it, you know, and that in that way, you know, peace and harmony, we could live a respectable, peaceful life. We wouldn't be causing conflict and that kind of thing. But I think what's happened now is people are saying, no, self-control is not the way to handle these things. Self-expression is the way to handle things. So if you feel these previously unacceptable feelings or mentality, identity, urges, whatever, that you express them. And that instead of everybody controlling these urges and have an acceptability through that. You express all this stuff, and you get the public to accept all these things. And I really think it really is the difference between self-control and self-expression. How does that look, that self-expression to you? How do you feel that, is this a solution? I mean, does that look like a solution?
It's manufactured, it's artificial. They're forcing it into curriculum, into children especially. Roderick O'Gorman and Norma Foley, they want to get rid of words like boys and girls to add all these self-expressions that you're talking about. They want a whole spectrum of them. They, it's unlimited what you could be. They want to confuse innocent children, innocent minds. They want to label them as cross-dressers, they, them, non-binary. The list is endless. And I'd like to know, Dave, where is the demand coming from? Because this is why I'm saying it's manufactured and artificial, because I don't see the parents crying for this. I don't see the teachers wanting to teach this, and the children, they have very little in their innocent developing minds that they can be concrete to them. They know their mother loves them, they know their father loves them, and they know whether they're a boy or a girl, and they're trying to take that away from them. We have students in Ireland and in England as well, calling themselves cats and being fully supported by the system, by the state. It's just, the mind boggles, Dave.
Yeah.
It really does.
I like what you said there about, kids know their mother loves them, their father loves them. And to me, that's natural affection.
Yeah.
No, that's, and I remember, I'll just tell you a story from my own past. I remember when I was a young lad, driving along in a Dyna van, and there was four big lads in the front of the Dyna van. One lad was driving, and the three of us, and they were all big lads, had to fit into a two-seater seat. And what we had to do was we had to all bunch up and put our arms around each other, and we'd be bouncing along the road all the way, and you'd smell the smell of the lad, you'd be right there. But there was never a hint that this natural comfort, this was a sexual, there was no sexuality involved.
Of course.
Because we knew what natural affection was.
Yeah.
We actually loved each other's brothers.
Yeah.
We all knew that this wasn't a thought that you entertained.
Yeah.
You don't... and
there was
if
no
you
underlying kind of sentiments there or anything like that, yeah.
And if you did entertain any of those thoughts because they've come from wherever, you would just
shrug it
ditch
off.
them. Yeah,
Okay.
because where's that going? What I was saying was this sounds like natural affection as opposed to sexualization. The mother loves them, the father loves them, this is the affection, this is love that you have, and all of a sudden it's been redirected in another way. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's manufactured and artificial. I think it's done it's designed to confuse and stop the natural development of a healthy boy or girl growing into a healthy adult. You only have one childhood, and if you're going to bombard them with all these, they believe in Santa, they believe in the Easter Bunny. My nephew, he loves Harry Potter, so he thinks he's a wizard. He goes around with a wand and he throws his heart and soul into it, and if you're telling them they can be anything they want, they're gonna jump on that bandwagon, and you're just going to completely pollute and corrupt them, and they're going to impede their natural development. And it's not done out of compassion, kindness and goodness, Dave, like they claim. Like they always do everything with the intention of the greater good. But there's that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and this is not going to lead to a good place, Dave. This is going to lead to in a generation from now, or we're going to put a stop to it. We're not going to let this happen. We can't let this go ahead because it's complete nonsense. What's
the worst of your fears about all of this?
It's where they're trying to take us, Dave. Where they, look at the last 3 years. They said they're going to. They're doing everything for the greater good, and it's complete and utter. We haven't even seen the full effects of their what they did to us for the last 3 years. People are still getting the mental health is through the roof. I feel people are going to become more depressed, suicide. People are going to become more confused, and it's like they're leading us into a dystopia.
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear.
What does that dystopia look like in terms of the drag queen story time, the indoctrination of children, all those kind of things?
Well, you know, they're trying to rebrand paedophilia, for example, minor attracted persons. You know, or we should feel sorry for paedophiles because it's just not their fault. That's their sexual orientation, and if you can normalise that, they can do anything to us. And I don't think they're going to, Dave, because I think people are, there's a line in the sand, and they've already crossed it, and I think people are starting to push back.
I can see that you don't even want to think about it.
I'm full of optimism, Dave. I'm very optimistic. I see the tide turning, and I think like our message resonates more to people than the narrative. People are really seriously, people in my family, neighbours, they're coming to me and they're telling me I shouldn't have got the vaccine. I don't feel the same since.
Yeah.
We're the hold the line as well, Dave.
Yeah.
You know what it was like during COVID.
Yeah.
You know the height of abuse we got.
Yeah.
We were called names. They were pulling down our signs. We were coming up to our faces, getting really aggressive. I don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
I see, well done lads, because our signs are, things like RTE is the virus.
Yeah.
We have so many signs that people resonate with, and they come up and they give us the thumbs up, and they start conversations. They say things like, I wish I never got the vaccine, I was forced into it.
Yeah.
It was all a load of, a big psyop, it was all these lies. People are seeing what we're saying, and all the work for Hold the Line, we're really seeing the fruition of it now,
Yeah, I feel that last year, we see broadly speaking, this intersectionality. It involves a lot of challenges on a lot of fronts. Do you feel the COVID, the lockdowns, the whole vaccines, that this is all part of the same thing? Do you feel that it's about a master plan to control us?
Oh yeah, and the whole world is in on it.
Yeah.
Except for Sweden, of course, and there was a few other countries in Africa. If they weren't affected, the whole thing's is a joke. People can really start to see it now.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a controlled worldwide effort. The WEF.
Yeah.
It was brought up in the Dáil there by Matty McGrath about Klaus Schwab and you'll own nothing and you be happy. And he went into a few more details that we all know about. Yeah. It's public information out there. We have leaders like Leo Varadkar, Justin Trudeau. What's your one, Jacinta?
Ardern. Yeah.
I have a tough time saying her name. But yeah, they're all underlings for Klaus Schwab, and this is public information. And Leo and Micheál in the Dáil laughing at Michael McGrath, and this is public record. Yeah. And when people see that as well, it just opens up more eyes. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people waking up, Dave. A lot of people, like I said, people in my family and neighbours are seeing what we said. Well, that whole saying, far right so far, is really true.
Yeah, I feel with the Hold the Line that last year we had public support for questioning the lockdown. I think a lot of people were saying, "What was that all about?"
Yeah,
God, somebody's on about it. I feel that last year we didn't have public support to challenge the vaccines because so many people had taken it that they weren't at that point where they're ready to say, "Oh, what did I do?"
Right.
Again. So it's not that that wasn't the case in my opinion, but I think it was that just the majority of people were not willing to go there at that point. I think this year they are. Yep. I think that is the same with the immigration. We couldn't campaign on immigration last year. Yes. This year we're getting the beeps.
Yeah.
And the other thing was drag queen story time. I didn't feel last year that the public was was ready for a challenge to the drag queen story time, but this year I think it is.
It's all coming together, Dave. They see like all these things, all their narratives are falling apart, and especially with the over-sexualization of children, this is really freaking. No matter what side of the fence you stand on, we can all as a country come together on this.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe the straw that broke the donkey's back for them.
So let's go back to that day, because this is what people want to know about Ross Lahive. You know, that champion. You know, and,
give me a big head here now, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
Give me a big head.
It's about the issues. It's about the conflict. It's a culture war. You were a champion of a culture war. And what happened there? What people saw you pushing. What happened there? What did you do?
I don't feel personally brave, Dave, for doing this. I just felt like we're doing this for so long. It's like water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
You know, the adrenaline doesn't pump up like it used to when we're first doing these things. You get used to it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I want to tell people out there.
Yeah.
You need to get up and go and go to the library and ask these questions as well. Why are these books in the library? Why are you teaching kids step-by-step instructions how to get onto adult dating apps, which are very extremely dangerous?
Yeah.
You know, we had not too far from here 2 men in actually Sligo, and they were lured by an Islamic extremist and beheaded because they were gay.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get children onto these apps, right? Grindr. And we need people to go into the libraries, Dave, and don't be afraid to go in, because believe you and me, they're more afraid of you. All you have to do is go in with a friend or two. Make sure you record everything. You know, if you don't feel comfortable recording the staff, don't record the staff. Just keep the cameras on yourself. But ask these questions, and you'll be very happy in yourself that you did, because, you know, it's like a splinter in the brain. Like, you know, I got to do something. You got to do something. Go out there and do it. Yeah. And the thought of actually doing these things, Dave, is more intimidating than actually going through the process yourself. Yeah. You'll find that they're the ones and the library staff do have accountability. You know, they have a duty of care. And myself, Andy, and Nita, we went to Drogheda last week, and we had a lovely letter drafted up by Lawyers for Justice, and we laid out all the laws that they're breaking. Yeah. And if everyone in Ireland went to their local library, this filth will be all off the shelf, and we can pick up the momentum, go to the bookshops, and eventually get it out of the curriculum. But on that day, Dave, we had a girl in there, just to see what was going on, you know, and she said, "Listen, it's behind closed doors. You know, they have children locked behind closed doors." So we came in there, automatically she said, "Oh, hi," she recognized me. She had a look of surprise on her face, and she went straight into the room to inform the others. And there was a few individuals blocking us from going in. And there was kind of a gap, so I thought there was a double door, and I went straight to, where I thought I could get through. And I automatically realized, okay, that door's locked, I'll try the next one. But your man, I think it was a guy, I might be mispronouncing, they're very confused looking individuals. I don't know if it's a man or a woman, but I had, in order to get to the other door, I had to, and if you look at the video, I gently put my hand on his shoulder and just nudged him out of the way, just enough for me to get past. Yeah. And the media were saying, like, I practically blew him on the floor. When they were expecting us, because, you know, they were given a heads up, and they all surrounded myself, Margot, Steve and Joe. They were like, "Get out." The kids were actually more aggressive than we were. Yeah. My hand, Dave, was all scratched up by the end of it. Yeah. And so if anyone was assaulted, it was me. Yeah. And there was this girl, she was in my face the whole time. She picked up a book. I thought she was going to hit me with it. So I took the book off her hand. She freaked out like I was assaulting her. "Get your hands off me, get your hands off me." And this guy came coming to our defence, and unfortunately this is where the footage cut out. He went to grab my phone. I held on to it tightly. Then he kind of positioned himself to push me out, and the whole lot of them were pushing me out. Yeah. And I felt very threatened. I took him down to the ground very gently. I did not hurt him, and I stood back up again. Yeah. Not shortly after that, we left. We went outside, and they followed us outside. They were very coordinated. They had the umbrellas, and we managed to get around the back of the library, and I had captured them. They were reading this book called The Prince in the Night, and it was all about this prince, handsome prince. None of the girls, he was interested in none of the women, You could tell where this is going. A dragon comes along, he slays the dragon, he falls from a height, he's caught by this knight in shining armour, they fell in love at first sight, they got married, and they lived happily ever after. It starts off like this, but even that, Dave, I don't think it's appropriate for... These kids were like, they could barely speak, they were that young, like 2, 3, and... I don't know, there's about 6 or 7 of them, I can't remember, because it was so confused, they were blocking everything, you know?
Because what I'm picking up is, here's a man who's saying, I do not consent to this.
Yeah.
You got a splinter in your brain about it. You go in, you see locked doors, the children are behind the doors, what's going on?
Yeah, and by the way, the kids, they started screaming and crying when their side upped the ante. They took it to the next level. They were the ones to push the aggression. Yeah. But would you see it on the newspapers? Would they report that? No.
What are they saying about you, Ross?
Well, they're saying I'm a far-right bigot thug, that I'm against LGBT+. I have nothing against gay people, and we repeat this time and time again, Dave. I have nothing against gay people, gay, lesbian. If you want to be a transgender, that's your choice, but you have to, reach a certain age before you make that decision. Yeah. And the media always repeat that, Dave. They always repeat that we're anti-LGBT, that we're overly aggressive. The Gardaí, for some reason, they always feel it's important for the Gardaí to run us off, and the Gardaí never run us off. Actually, the Gardaí, the last few occasions, are on our side of things because, we are a traditional conservative country, Dave, and most people don't want this taught to children, so we get a lot of support from the Gardaí too. Yeah.
You were saying about gay people?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts there?
Well, we've got lots of support from gay people. Yeah. The gay community have fought for generations to gain the equality they have today. The leader of the country is a gay man. Roderick O'Gorman, Minister for Children's a gay man. There's no one going around beating up gay people because they're gay, And if there are a few out there that don't like gay people, they don't speak for the rest of Ireland. I think my view on gay people is there's nothing exceptional about my way of thinking of gay people. If you're gay, that's it's not a big deal. We've nothing against gay people. And I think that's the average man, woman and child's opinion about gay people. We have gay friends who support what we're doing.
Yeah, tell us about them.
Yeah, I can't give away any names because I asked one particular gay woman, she's in a relationship for 20 plus years, and she contacted me. She said, Ross, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I said, can we do an interview with you? And because her daughter is totally sucked into the LGBT extreme, the extreme, if she comes out and shows support for someone such as myself, she'll be disowned. But I am on to another woman who said she'll do an interview with me, and she sees what's going on is very wrong, and she feels ashamed that they're coming in with this agenda under the gay and lesbian community. And she's a decent... I think most gay people want to protect children as well. But this kind of extreme side of things, they're not out for children's best interest at all. And I think more and more people are... It's hard for them to hide it anymore.
Yeah, I've heard some of those messages from the LGBs, and they're powerful. I wish we'd hear more of them. I mean, I remember one particular message which was saying to ye, that was saying, this person genuinely believes that the queer element is mental illness. Yeah. And that's a gay person. And I if you were to voice that person's concern about Drag Queen Storytime, what do you think they would say about Drag Queen Storytime, about that event that you...
Well, she actually told me what she felt about it. She said she feels it's taken away from all the hard work that they achieved throughout the years. And she feels ashamed and embarrassed, them pushing this on to innocent children. I think that's a very rational way of looking at it as well.
And didn't you mention to me that some of those gay people actually saw the persecution that you were getting?
Oh
they recognised it.
Yeah, they recognised. Yeah, that's it. She saw the way I was being treated. Nobody was listening to my concerns. I was completely drowned out by their irrational behaviour. And it brought her back to the late 80s, early 90s, what she went through. God love her. She got beat to a pulp, and she was ended up in the hospital, and it was a very serious situation, simply because she's gay.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully we don't have to deal with that in society anymore, Dave.
Yeah.
I want to mention as well, we made all four of us, myself, Margot, Steve and Joe, which, by the way, I want to put out a shout out to them. When you have a good team behind you, it makes all the difference, Dave. It makes all the difference, and I wouldn't been able to do it without the lads. But we all went into the Gardaí station later, just protect ourselves, because one that I took the book off said I assaulted her, and that she'd be making a statement to the Gardaí. And I'm expecting the guy that I nudged out of the way, I'm expecting him to make a report, and the guy that attacked me and I put down, I think he might put a report as well on me. But if you look at the footage, you see the instigators and agitators. We were asking very rational, reasonable questions in a very calm way. But look, we see how the media reported on it, and I think they're backed by the state as well, and the government. So they probably will be looking. No, the guard that we spoke to, he was a gentleman. He was a gentleman. But ultimately, it's not going to be his decision. It's going to be people higher up the ladder that are going to be looking to come after the likes of us who speak out on these issues.
Okay, well, Ross, people have already seen you on camera. How long did the clip last for?
About 3.5 minutes or something like
Okay.
that. But when it goes on Twitter, it's only 2 minutes 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And Matt Wallace, he cut it down to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Apparently he knows what he's doing, because he got 12 points. I can't remember how many views last time I checked.
12 point something million views.
12.4, I believe, the last time I checked.
So there's a lot of people out there who have connected with you for half a minute to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Dave, I have to mention as well, these videos going around mentions that I'm a father. I'm not a father yet. I do hope to be a father sometime. Before my time is done, I'd love to be a father.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to correct that, because a lot of the clips going around are saying that I'm a dad going in there.
Yeah.
But that's what a dad would do.
I think
anyway.
a lot of dads are watching there saying, yeah that's me.
I've seen that. I've seen a lot of that in the comments. If I was there, I wouldn't have taken it so easy.
Yeah.
I don't know how I controlled myself, and a lot of comments pointing out their behaviour. It was just all around positivity. You get the odd troll here and there, but they're the same old names that we're very familiar with.
How many people have connected to you and seen that your story, have started off in learning about you, knowing something about you from those clips?
Clown World put out, I got 1 million for that. A guy called Ollie London, I want to thank him for, he got over 5 million.
Yeah.
Andy Heisman, our friend Andy,
Yeah.
he got about 500,000 for that. Matt Wallace, he got 12.4, I think, last time I checked. Elon Musk highlighted it. Who else? Alex Jones.
Yeah.
He had "This is how it should be done," conservatively speaking, even on Twitter, and it went on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Conservatively speaking, about 20 million, I'd say.
Wow. So we're not supposed to focus on the views, but it is satisfying, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is, of course. I mean, people resonated for a reason. They don't want this. And especially Ireland, we don't have this in Ireland.
Yeah.
It's not welcome in Ireland. And I don't think they're going to have a drag queen anytime soon, Dave.
Yeah.
Because they know, they can't advertise it. They know it's going to happen. The public backlash, complete polar opposite to what the media are putting out there.
Yeah.
I heard PJ Coogan, he's the radio show in Cork City. He doesn't get that many views, really. Neil Prendeville is the one to, he gets all the... he gets the general reviews in Cork City and in Cork County. 100 million for Neil Prendeville, I hear 20 million for PJ Coogan. He was going along the media narrative. Oh, I'm a thug. I was terrorising children. And you see, Dave, a lot of people don't think for themselves. These people do their thinking for them. So PJ Coogan does people's thinking for them. So, the callers listening to that, and they're only hearing one side of the story. So they're calling up, oh, I'm a thug, I'm this and that. So I called up 96 FM to get on to PJ Coogan. I said, hi, this is Ross Lahive. Yeah. I could hear your man gasping, oh no, what are we going to do? I want to join the conversation, and do you think to let me on, Dave? No, they ended the whole topic after my phone call, you know. And by the way, PJ Coogan was saying, oh, if Ross Lahive said this or that to me, and if it was my thing, what I would do to him and what I would say. And here I am calling up, and the man's a coward. He wouldn't let me on. But I don't blame him, Dave, because I would have ripped the narrative right apart.
Yeah.
And this is another reason why we film and record everything. Yeah. So when they do say things about us, so I say, hold on a second, lads, here's the footage, see for yourself. Thankfully, we had such an overwhelming amount of support in the comments. Nobody wants this for children, Dave. They see where it's going, you know.
Yeah. And I've seen you've made it onto RTE.
Oh yeah, big thanks to RTE and myself, Andy and Jana. Yeah. We're doing this whole campaign with This Book Is Gay. And we touched upon that earlier with what they're teaching the children. They tried to do a hit piece on myself, Jana and Andy, but it only backfired on him.
When the state broadcaster, and in fairness, people might disagree with me, but I think that the state broadcaster, in theory, is trying to do public service broadcasting, where you give both sides of the story and ask the public to make up. I think it's there theoretically, but I think it's only with lip service. I think that they are trying to make you look bad.
Yeah. Oh, like the cornerstones of journalism: truth, accuracy, and objectivity.
Yeah.
They're very biased in everything they do. They're not interested in telling the truth. You know, Dave. It's one thing. You know, we know the media are lying to us the whole time, but when they lie about you personally, you really start to see it. You might have experience in that yourself, doing all the activism that you've done. Yeah,
I have, but I've kind of stayed under the radar, and I'm not a warrior. I am a diplomat, you know.
I disagree.
I can take a stand, but ultimately this is, and I want to go back to the RT thing, but I think you brought up something really critical. And I think that you brought up something which is key to your views. Some people won't let a thing go, you know. Some people are a bit prickish. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it can be a good thing. No, I'm not calling you a prick.
I hope not. But I can be unpleasant when I have to be, Dave.
And men can be. Is that a normal part of manhood?
Yeah, we're going to stand up for what we believe in, and maybe we might not do it in the most elegant, gentle way. We're not all built the same way, Dave, you know. With this whole thing with COVID, for example, I took a hard stand against it. I refused to wear a mask.
Let's forget COVID on this one.
Okay.
I think people want to know about you. I saw a warrior there. I've seen warriors. There's a few of them around. There's not many. You're one of them. You know,
honestly, Dave, I like I said earlier, it doesn't take much to do these things once you've done them a few times.
Yeah,
it does take a little bit of courage at the beginning. You know, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But once you do it one time, you're like, you know, I built it up in my head far more than what it actually was.
Yeah,
and you see, they're the ones that are in the wrong. They're defending the indefensible.
Yeah. What inside of you, the man with the splinter of his head, looking at this, how does that feel for you? What's your response that drives you through that door?
It's so wrong. It's just so, it's so vile. It's so evil. It's satanic, demonic. How could you not stand up against it, Dave? Yeah. How could you not?
And that's what drives you forward.
That gives me the power, you know. It's just so far gone, like wrong. It's pure evil. This is pure evil. Pure evil. And if we can't stand up against this, we're not going to stand up against anything.
Lots of men are conditioned. Let it go, not get involved,
right.
To stand back.
Yes.
Do you see that? But that's not.
I hear that a lot. Well, why you, Ross?
Yeah.
Why you stand? Why can't someone else?
Yeah.
But if not you, who? If not now, when?
Yeah.
You know, now's the time to stand up. And honestly, Dave, all you have to do is a few times. And it's like, it's no big deal. Like I said, it didn't take an ounce of... Because I see these people for who they are. Demonic, evil creatures teaching this. They're messed up and twisted in their own minds. And they want to do this to children as well. They haven't got a leg to stand on. They're just... It's so immoral what they're doing here. And that's why I think we got all the support we got.
You've definitely been a champion of a whole load of people's aspirations here. You know, there are a whole load of people who feel the same way as you and wished that would happen more often.
Well, I don't see why it shouldn't happen more often, and I don't see myself. You know, honestly, Dave, it's not. It wasn't that big because we do this stuff all the time, right? So I wasn't going in there thinking, oh, this is going to get 20 million plus views. I was just going in there doing what I normally do, and if I got a few thousand views, I would have been happy with that.
You would, but it got 20 million views because people are looking at you, and they're looking at their own conditioning, their own fears, their own reservations, their own politeness, their own pride, their own shyness, and they're saying, that holds me back. They didn't see a man being held back when they saw you.
I wasn't being held back. We were just doing that what comes natural to us at this stage, you know. It's wrong, and
what does it take?
It just takes. You know, you sleep better at night. You know, when you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
When you're standing up against this evil, it's beyond words how vile this stuff is, and just naturally, it's like it's a knee-jerk reaction. My friend Frisa, she got on to me and she told me about this, and I was like, oh yeah, of course we can have this in Ireland. We got a few people together, and we went down and we went in there and we exposed them.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, when you lift up a rock and all this, the cockroaches and insects, creepy crawlies start running. That's what I saw in the library. Yeah. Why are they hiding it? And that's another thing overwhelmingly in the comments. They look guilty. What are they hiding for? Why is it behind closed doors?
Yeah.
Why are they so demonic? They look demonic. A lot of people thought that as well. Yeah. And for me to stand up against that, it's nothing. It's nothing.
There was a conflict there.
Yeah.
You represented one thing, they represented something else. You push forward. Other people stand back. Other people say respect. Other people say, you know. Clearly, conflict is not something a lot of people feel it is right to shy away from.
I'm used to conflict at this stage, throughout just being conditioned. We're battle hardened at this stage, Dave. Things that were intimidating a few years ago, we take in stride at this, you know. Like I was terrified to get in front of a camera for the first time, but I felt, fuck it, I need to get this out there. And you just get used to it, Dave. You know, you just get used to it bit by bit. You get used to it, and that's what I say to people out there. If you feel there's something wrong, you need to get out there and you need to speak up against it. You don't have to go into the, you know, to the level that we're doing, but just come out and support us and just take it step by step. And before you know it, you'll be comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Tell us about the feeling of satisfaction you have when you go home and you feel you've done the right thing.
Yeah, especially when we get a reaction like that, you just feel like, you know, you feel like you're on the right path. There is a sense of like satisfaction from that as well. We started this day because what they're doing is wrong, and we've come to the point now where when you speak out against it, you feel happier in yourself, you know, because they're changing our society in front of our eyes. And if we don't stand up and speak out against it, they're just going to roll right over us. That's what they want. They want resistance. Yeah. You know, this is why they're bringing in the hate speech laws.
Yeah.
That's not going down too. I think that's waking up more people than they would have liked.
I think that there are a lot of people starting to feel pain over this.
Okay.
You know, and in what you did, they saw a resolution to their pain, you know? They saw a redemption of kinds, I think, when they saw what you did.
Yeah, it just blows my mind, Dave. It's quite bizarre to me. It's quite surreal that it's after getting the attention that it has. It feels like I'm somehow like removed from it, if that makes any sense, you know. Yeah. But it does encourage me, and I don't think they're going to have a drag queen story time in Ireland anytime soon, because they're not going to want a reaction like that again. Because other people are going to go, Dave, they're going to say, hold on a second, you're teaching this to children? We're not having this. It didn't go down too well. We went down like a lead balloon for them.
Yeah. Going back to RTE, you know, that's where we were when we got led into this wasn't a diversion. I think that was the core of it. I think that was one of the most important parts of it. There's the nudge stuff happening, isn't there?
What do you mean?
That there's nobody comes up on the camera and says, this is the far right bigot that we're all supposed to hate, you know? If we all hated Ross Hyde properly, we would have none of these problems in future, you know? Nobody comes out.
It's quite interesting. I never heard it quite put that way before.
But what I'm saying to you is nobody is directly saying that.
No.
It depends on the report, you know. I'm always surprised at how well our perspective comes across on RT, despite the fact that another perspective is put forward quite forceful. Let's put it that way.
Their perspective is, should God love the librarians?
Yeah.
And because myself and Andy, we went into the vaccination centres as well.
Yeah.
Their whole argument, okay, RTE, and not just RTE, the whole mainstream media, their whole be-all and end-all point is, what about the poor workers? When we're saying, what about the kids? That's our argument. And how are they ever going to put anything together substantial enough to take away from our point? They can't. Because we're not, they're saying we're going in there and we're harassing and intimidating the staff workers, like we have them up against the wall and like we're literally like beating them. That's how like they're coming across that. But when you look at the videos, you know, we're asking them questions, like very reasonable questions. Why do you have books like this in the library? And they can't answer these questions. And that argument, RTE and the mainstream media has, it's not really connecting to people, because this is what the media does as well all the time, Dave. They attack the messenger, but not the message. They always call us far right, they call us extremists. When they're the extremists, we're pointing out these issues, and they're not highlighting that. They're saying that, oh, the poor staff members, we need to protect the poor staff members. And I don't think that's really connecting to the people of Ireland.
Just for the international audience, RT is the national broadcaster.
Yeah,
you know, the previously trusted media
yes,
in Ireland.
they're going down in flames, Dave. They've lost all credibility. It's on the floor. Yeah,
I mean, I haven't watched RTE in probably 3 years, but lots of people do, and lots of people, particularly people who grow up in the 70s and 80s. RT was such a wonderful, the Late Show, the news. It was the rhythm of the day for
absolutely
everybody in Ireland. The Angelus, all this stuff. It was so much part of our lives and so much part of our identity, but now it's a part of our identity which we're rejecting.
They've abused the trust of the Irish people, and they no longer have the respect of the Irish people. Family and members of mine that love Ryan Tubridy are now like disowning him, and they feel he's a disgrace. I found it very funny, Dave. You know, he should get an Oscar performance for when he was in the Dáil, crying out, "In my heart, my soul," and "Oh, don't call me the talent. It's the person behind reception. It's the man sweeping the broom," like pure phony. Like you could see right through him, and he's crying about being cancelled. When he was trying to cancel people like us who didn't go along with the injection and everything. They're very two-faced, very manipulative, deceiving people.
John Waters, Aisling O'Loughlin, Gemma O'Doherty, Louise Rosengrave, George Hook, Kevin Myers, they weren't cancelled for excessive under-the-table payments or whatever it was. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert on all that stuff. They were cancelled because they talked about things that weren't supposed to be talked about. They were talked about a perspective which nobody wanted to see people wanted to see it, but at editorial level was not going to be shown to the public.
There's so many holes in their narrative now, that they're gaping holes that nothing is adding up anymore. This is why they're going down in flames. What is it, 200 million every year they have in their the license revenue? I think a lot of people are not going to pay for their TV license next year.
I think for all that they did, they couldn't make you look bad.
You know, I don't watch RTE, but I did watch the prime time, and I was just laughing watching it, Dave, because it was not their own goal. They just fail at every turn. Do you know, they left out the bulk of our, what they didn't go into detail about the book that we're campaigning against.
Yeah.
It was all about the poor, how awful we are, and how the staff need to be protected. That's their whole argument.
Well, let's go into this. Why are they doing that?
Yeah, good question, Dave. Why? Why are they protecting these things that people don't want? They're all in promoting an agenda, sexualizing children at a very young age. We can go into the SPHE as well if you want. That's the curriculum that they want to bring in, transgender ideology, same-sex relationships. Why don't they push heterosexuality? Like I said earlier, people accept gay people. It's up to the parents to decide when. Let the kid come to the mother and father and ask questions. Why is it? We went to a school there in Cork, and we spoke to the principal, and she flat out lied to our faces. She said that they're not teaching these things to children. As soon as we walked out the door, we ran into a mother, and we were handing out flyers. She opened up to us. Her 6-year-old child, she felt sick to the stomach when he was telling his mother about penises and vaginas and what to do with them and sexual intercourse and everything. She felt like her son's innocence was robbed, and she was sick to her stomach. And we went to another school, and we had a very similar story. They're saying they're not teaching these things. Dave, they're going to start teaching them, you know, okay, the WHO and the UN, and this is on their own website. This is shocking, but it's on their own website. They believe that children are sexual beings and need to learn how to have sex as young as kindergarten and primary school. This is their own. And they want to teach the authorities all over the world that children need to learn about pornography, how to give fellatio, how to do all these sexual acts. And they want to encourage this in the curriculum. And we have Mick Barry, Paul Murphy, and Ruth Coppinger. They signed in this RSE based on the UN and the WHO's, you know, this whole thing with teaching them masturbation from a very young age, teaching them pornography. The list goes on and on. It's absolute vile, putrid, satanic, demonic, next level even. It's just next level, Dave, to the, you know, and like I said, this is their own. This is from their own websites. They have it all laid out for everyone to see, and they want to bring it into Ireland. So I don't think they're going to win with this one, Dave. If you take away their innocence from a very young age, and they're not going to develop, and naturally, like how we grew up, you're going to create messed up individuals that they're going to be on. They're going to have mental health issues. They're going to maybe have these operations where they make €1 million to transition from male to female and vice versa. Well, I just think they want an army of social justice warriors as well. If they can get away with this generation, they basically won everything. And they're going to have them manipulated just the way they want. And the government are going to have complete control. If they're going to corrupt innocent young people, when they grow up, they're going to have them in their palm of their hands. And they're going to be able to do whatever they want, because these individuals can't think for themselves clearly. And they're going to run amok, and tyranny is going to kick up to a whole new level.
And they won't be able to feel natural affection. You know, they won't be able, because natural affection has become sexualized. You know, your feelings of goodwill towards people is now a sexual feeling. And that means that there's a whole load of social interactions that we can't do anymore.
This is going back to you and your buddies and packed in the... it wouldn't even enter your minds.
It, because we were innocent, even though we were grown men.
But there wasn't
we were innocent to that whole thing.
It wasn't in the ether, so, you know, it wasn't...
No one would even conceive of it. So you actually have brotherly love.
Yeah.
You know,
they want to take that away from men as well.
Yeah.
They want to isolate men.
Yeah.
Because masculine, there's a camaraderie there. When we're strong, we're harder to control, and that's why you need men in society, Dave. Yeah. Because we're protecting traditional natural values here, and if they take the men away, they can rewrite with all these ideologies and completely rewrite the script.
You need natural affection and men for families.
Yeah.
You need strong men who are caring and committed to their families. And all this sexualization, where does that leave families? Where does that leave our future?
Yeah, exactly.
We
Dave.
need future generations.
Exactly, Dave.
How does this all translate into the rearing of another generation of healthy families?
Right. So look, this is what they're doing. It's all done by design because they're taking these things away, because they're taking a man out. It's all done by design, Dave. And everything that we're called conspiracy theorists for turn out to be. Actually, we're not conspiracy theorists, we're speaking sense. And I think this is why more and more people are turning off RTE, or distrusting the government, and all the things that we said and stood up for the last 3 years, it makes more sense to them than what they're told by their politicians and when they turn on the TV.
Because people have common sense.
Yeah. People are really starting to see through it now.
Let's talk about the institutions. It's not just RTE. It's the HSE or
NGOs.
Yeah. Where's this coming from? Is this even coming from Ireland?
There's a wider agenda here, and it's a worldwide coordinated. It's not happening just in Ireland. It's happening. Open borders are happening in North America, Canada, America, all over the Western world, in Europe. It's not a coincidence. There must be a central kind of source where all this is happening, and I do think it goes back to Klaus Schwab and the WEF. They're pulling the strings here. They want us to go into a cashless 15-minute society, very much like what they have in China. They want to bring into the Western world. And Ireland is like, we're the best boys in the class when it comes to all these policies that the EU, or, you know, for example, we're not obliged to have open borders, but they say, oh, it's EU policy. Like, you know, when you tell a child, when I was growing up, you know, you ask your mother for something and she'll say, we'll see. And then, like, that's end of argument, you know. It's just like, oh, it's EU policy, like, end of argument. Like, they treat us like children. They have no respect for us. But people they're filling up with anger now, I feel, righteous anger.
It's a misuse of power. And I think a year ago, people knew it was a misuse of power, but they didn't care. Now, I think they do care.
Yeah.
What do you think that our elected leaders?
They're not elected.
Right.
You nearly forgot that one.
Oh, this sounds like a conspiracy.
Yeah. Leo Varadkar he wasn't elected.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. As Taoiseach,
yeah,
which is the Prime Minister. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Do you think these guys are willing participants in the, let's call it, a global agenda?
Oh, they were picked for that. Like I said, Leo Varadkar is Klaus Schwab. He took him under his wing years ago, I believe, and he was handpicked for the job. He's a perfect man for the job. So people think he's doing a terrible job. He's doing a fantastic job, not for the Irish people, but for you know, the powers that be. You know, Klaus Schwab and the WF.
Do you think that some of them are coerced, threatened, like, say, Enda Kenny? You know, if we don't do what the ECB says, we'll have no money in the ATMs tomorrow.
I think the vast majority of them are narcissistic, and they get off on fooling the Irish people and standing up there telling everyone what a great job they're doing. They're laughing at us, Dave. I think they get a kick out of it, to be honest with you. I think they're narcissistic individuals. They're professional liars, and thankfully people are onto them, and the road is running out for them, because a lot of people are asking a lot of questions. They lost the grip, the trust of the people, and it's slipping through their fingers. And people like us are pointing it out, and our message is resonating more than what they have to say.
I mean, I certainly see it in the TDs. They lack conviction these days, especially the last 2 or 3 years. But I suppose they know, if they want to progress, who has the power. They know who to look for favours from, or which way the path to progress is, or who the path to progress is with.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, if an ordinary person wanted to run for politics, they probably wouldn't get very far, because you have to be an inside guy. And I think Leo Varadkar, Micheál, I think these are all inside players. Gemma Doherty, for example, didn't she run, and she was supposed to get on RTE for a certain amount of time, and they only gave her 30 seconds or something like that. You're state funded when you're running on these campaigns. But if you're an ordinary individual, you have to, everything comes out of your own pocket. And they give you bad press, they give their guys the best of attention. It's really falling apart from them now. It really is.
What do you think the motivation of the agenda is for Ireland? You know, coming from the globalists.
Well, I think they want a society like they have in China. Complete surveillance. They're going to bring in these 15-minute cities. Another conspiracy theory that was laughed at not too long ago. Now people are starting to see it. They want to get rid of cash so they can control everything you buy. If you're outside your zone, for example, your payment won't work. It's just complete and utter control and surveillance.
Do you think this is in order to make us more profitable as a society? Not for us to make profit, but for them to make profit out of us.
I think control. I think ultimately they just want complete and utter control. They're already taking away our freedoms bit by bit, and they want to take it all away from us. And before we know it, we won't even be able to think for ourselves. And this is what they're doing with the confusion of the children as well. They'd be very easy to manipulate people when they're going to take away our self-respect, our dignity, and they just want complete and total control like they have in China. But it's going to be worse if they have their way.
And they have allies on the ground, don't they?
Oh, they do indeed. The rent mobs. Yeah, we've seen plenty of them, Dave. We have a rally on Saturday. Cork says no to everything that we're talking about here: hate speech laws, open borders, and all over sexualization of children and all the rest of it. We're already getting messages that there's going to be people come out to show violence. We had it at the beginning of the year. We just basically left them to their devices. We had our own thing going on. They were shouting Nazi scrum off the streets over and over and over again. One fella overheard a conversation. They're getting €50 to be there, so they're paid to be there. We're there for the love of our country, and to protect our country, and they're there to run us down to get a reaction. The Gardaí back then, they marched the rent mob towards us because we were too far away, and they weren't happy with that. They weren't happy with us ignoring them, and they wanted to provoke a reaction from us, the far right, the extreme far right, just so if we make one little mistake, oh, you see, this is what they're really like. But it backfired on them, Dave, because everyone saw Neil Prendeville. He has the most listeners in Cork. He tried to spin it the other way, but even people that are usually on site were saying, oh no, they were the aggressors, they were the abusers, they were way out of line. And Neil Prendeville was like, oh, are you sure? I'm surprised you would say that. But he said, Neil, I'm only seeing what I saw. So he got no one that day to side with him. And people are really waking up, Dave. They're really waking up. But I do fear this Saturday, they might use the same tactics. But they might maybe say, if you get a reaction, we'll give you a bonus or something like that. They really want to trigger and provoke a reaction so they can use it against us, so they can talk about it in the media. This is the far right. This is what they're all about. But we're always on our best behaviour. We don't engage with them. We're not going to give them any ammo to use against us.
Are we seeing a joined up campaign against what you're doing from the on-street activists, the Antifa crowd? Would you describe the LGBT mob as the same as Antifa, or are they slightly different?
I think they're more or less like on the same page, on the same wavelength when it comes to these things, Dave. Look, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it anyway. Whenever we do anything, me and the lads, when we go, we have this conversation. When I go back home, I always look up these sites, and I feel disappointed when they don't mention me. Like I didn't do a good enough job today, you know. I get a real kick out of it when they say, "Oh, Ross Lahive, he's a fascist, he's a bigot." I just laugh to no end, Dave. It gives me encouragement. They think like they're I don't know what they're thinking. Lies and we talk about, they talk about disinformation and false. They're the ones, pumping all this out. But it really truly does. When they do cartoons of us, when they do sketches of us, I just find it very funny. I get a great, and I know the lads do as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all language. It's one man's patriot is another man's bigoted fascist.
Yes, yeah.
Do you see an alliance there between the government, the globalist authorities, the press, the NGOs, and the guys on the ground?
It's hand in glove. It all fits together.
Yeah.
They're all on the same page. It's a massive coordinated event. The media are only carrying out the state's agenda. They're right. And then they have these minions. The same people hire these the anti-fascists to come out on the street. They're all working together. No doubt about it.
Would you speculate on the cost of all that?
Well,
how much money do you think is going into the NGOs,
millions.
government policy?
Oh my God, I couldn't tell you.
The press.
I couldn't tell you, but it's costing them a pretty penny, to be sure. And we know from multiple stories that these lads, they get paid €50 typically, and sometimes they get paid in drugs. I won't say any names, but he got into conversation and they told him, we're getting paid, but it was off camera, Yeah. But we're getting paid to do this. They're literally getting paid to.
I'd say it's small change. If you look at the rest of it, the press, the NGOs, how much is going into that? And the sad part of it, it's our money.
Yeah.
It's tax money.
Yeah. It's the most treasonous thing you can do. They're destroying their own country, using the average good person's money against them.
And their own empathy for people. Let's see, how is our empathy being manipulated or exploited towards these?
They're using our good nature against us.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to help these people. We need to be understanding. It went from, Dave, can we just be accepted, to can we get married, to can we corrupt and pollute your children's minds? And if you don't go along with what they say, they're like brats kicking and screaming, oh, you're a bigot, you're far right. And I don't think it's working, Dave.
What is their justification for telling, in fairness, take the story. The story is about a prince and a dragon goes up into the sky. The prince gets caught by the same-sex person, and presumably there's it's normalizing a love story or a union, a same-sex union
with a
of
twist
some kind.
But this is grooming, Dave, because grooming is it's an incremental, step-by-step process. You're teaching them, you're introducing them to homosexual concepts today, and what are you going to teach them down the road? We know that in the curriculum they want to teach them pornography. It's a grooming. Grooming is when you gain the trust of a child and you introduce sexual concepts to them, and this is exactly what this is.
Yeah. Well, LGB, I think that sexual unions naturally are between a man and a woman that produce the life of a child and produce a family. Now that can't happen in LGB unions, but I could see how an LGB person could say, well, I never felt that I was attracted to the opposite sex. So for me, this story of the prince getting caught in the arm is a one which I can identify with.
Okay.
What is difference between an LGBT person saying, I identify with that story of a same-sex union, and a queer trans person? Trans person, you're talking about leading a child on a road to surgery. If that LGBT person who said that she felt that queer is actually mental illness, that you've got men or women dressed up in the other role, in the other
personally, I think transgenderism is a mental illness as well. Or even to think that you're a cat, it's you're human. You're not a you're not a different species altogether. I do sympathise with these people, to feel like they're trapped in the wrong body, and once they reach a certain age, look, that's their right. They want to go from male to female, female to male. That's their choice, their decision. But I don't see why you should put it into the curriculum and tell each and every child in the country that this is an option for them. It's very unnatural. You're talking about a tiny fraction, a percentage of people that actually do have these issues. But when you introduce it to children at such a young age, you're going to create a massive mess. Like we already know going through the schools that a lot of schools already have boys and girls identifying as the opposite sex. But if this wasn't put into their minds, they wouldn't even know it's an option in the first place. So it's very sinister what they're doing. Even
if it's not a mental illness, which it could well be, what are the life outcomes for kids that are queer and trans?
The lifespan for trans is 32 years of age. So it's a very young age to I'm hoping to live to my 80s, maybe 90s. But trans individuals, they're lucky to make it to their mid-30s if they have these surgeries. It's a death cult as well. It's an absolute death cult that they're really putting everything into to push on innocent young minds.
That's the horror that you saw.
It is. It's exactly right. This is, like I said, it's so evil. It's pure evil. We have to stand up against it, Dave, and we are.
And you were, in many ways, for many people, the light that walked into that door, that room, the hope that ran into that room. What do you think the children themselves might have seen when
I think they were completely oblivious to it because they're so young. No. We got surrounded. They didn't have a clue what was going on. They didn't have an iota what we were there for. They continued to read the story and to shield them from our queries. And I don't think, honestly, Dave, I went in there like it was anything else. I didn't go in there thinking, oh, the world's going to see this. I didn't go in there thinking that way. I went in there thinking, this is wrong, and we're putting a stop to it. And like I said, hopefully, well, not hopefully, I don't think they're going to have a drag queen in Ireland anytime soon. And if they do, I think there's going to be other people out there going in and putting a stop to this. Look, they've done so much to us already. I don't think they're not going to take it to the next level, because if they take it to this level, they've won. And when you take the innocence away from children, teaching them all these sexual perversions, I don't think people are going to stand for it. They're not standing for this, Dave. None of the parents want it, and the average individual out there would agree with us. Yeah. It's wrong. It's actually sick.
What would we like for children? What would you like for children?
Well, the way we were brought up, Dave, Yeah. I guess my generation was the last generation to grow up without the internet. So this is a whole new, we don't even know the outcome with the internet and the effect it's going to have on children. But I had a proper loving mother and father. My father went out to work. My mother, she looked after us. And that's traditional way of, I'm an individual that's healthy. I have a healthy mind. I've got friends, I've got, I feel like I'm a very lucky individual. But that was a product of my mother and father's generation, the way they brought us up, very traditional. We went out and played in the summertime, we had a great childhood, Dave. Yeah. And I think they're trying to take that away from this generation. And when you bring up proper traditional values, you're going to have a strong man and woman at the end of it,
Well, I think it's important that people do say that they say what they do want, that we're not just a reaction to the reinvention of Ireland, but that we're actually standing up for a traditional Ireland that worked. We were quite happy with it.
I like the way you say that, Dave. It is a reinvention of Ireland. That's clearly what it is. Yeah. It's a complete reinvention of Ireland with everything that we see going on today. Yeah. And it's undeniable, and I think the average individual out there can see Ireland is changing, but not for the better.
No. And what you're saying is innocence, for all its whimsical ways, is actually a strength.
It's a natural development. Yeah. We grow up, and when we have questions, we go to our parents and we ask them, And if they feel the time is right and ready, they will tell us. They're not going to tell you when you're just learning how to speak about penises and vaginas and what to do to them. That's putting ideas into to developing minds where they're not ready to hear these things. You know, you learn these things when you get closer to puberty, not when you're like. They should be completely and totally oblivious to the concepts of sex at that age.
We should protect innocence.
Absolutely, Dave. Absolutely, you know. And doesn't that make sense?
Protect innocence, protect childhood.
Yeah, and then you're protecting your country in the long run as well.
Yeah.
So,
put it there, man.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.